And we are live. Welcome to the Free Culture Sports Show. After a week off last week, we're back this week. Again, it is just me, myself, and I here to talk to you about the events in sports in the past couple of weeks. Man, it's been a crazy couple of weeks. The past 2 weeks, from the whole Cowboys signing Greg Hardy deal. If you're an NFL fan, to if you follow the Premier League, Steven Gerrard making a 45-second appearance before getting red carded against Manchester United. And then to all of the March Madness going on, college basketball, to Kevin Durant being sidelined for the rest of the season. It's just been a crazy 2 weeks in sports. It's really good when you've got all these different sports activities going on. It's the best time of the year for me. You got basketball, you got soccer going on, the football across the world. You got spring training in baseball. You got March Madness NBA, you got NFL free agency and a draft coming up. It's just you got hockey playoffs coming. I mean, it's a lot going on. It's the best time of the year for sports, if you ask me. The NBA season is coming to a close, and Charlotte, my local team, is only 1.5 games out of 8th place in the East, with approximately 10 games left for each team. Some teams have a little bit more. Some teams may have a little bit less, but pretty much everybody has about 10 games left. But they've gone 2-8 in their last 10 games. It looks like they're going in the wrong direction. I don't know if that is by design. They played double overtime last night against the Wizards, a really good team. So they went out and really tried to win. Or maybe they tried to lose and the Wizards just weren't going to let them lose. At least with the NBA lottery, you have a chance at the number 1 pick if you don't make the playoffs. So, I mean, we've got that. We got a chance for a number 1 pick, even if we're the best team out of the playoffs. So that's always a good thing. Charlotte wasn't going to win an NBA championship this year anyway. But let's get to what most people are excited about in March, the March Madness of the NCAA tournament. Except for outside of the first day and maybe a little bit in the East region, there hasn't been a whole lot of madness going on. 6 of the 8 best teams in the nation are still in the tournament. Kentucky, you still got Wisconsin, Arizona, Duke, Gonzaga, and even Notre Dame. I'm counting in the top 8 best teams in the nation over Kansas and maybe even Villanova, who got a number 1 seed. The East region is the only one that doesn't have one of those teams, with Louisville beating NC State last night, Michigan State beating Oklahoma last night. But we'll get to that in a bit. It's just surprising to me that, it's March Madness, crazy things happen, but here in the Elite Eight, 6 of the best teams are still in it and are still going for a national championship. And that's what I think really makes the tournament great. Yes, you've got all of the craziness upsets going on in the first weekend, but when you get down to this late, you want to see a good team versus a good team, and that's what we've got going on in 3 of the regions. But let's recap how we got here first, and then we'll look forward to the rest of the weekend. Of course, I'm upset about the UNC-Wisconsin game. UNC had about a 4 or 5 point lead with 6 minutes to go and just blew it the rest of the way, making bad decisions, taking poor shots, turning the ball over, leaving people open. I mean, Sam Decker always seemed to be open for Wisconsin. I don't know if they just thought Wisconsin was playing with 4 players and didn't guard Sam Decker or what it was, but he was just always open. And I'm just not with this Carolina team. I don't know what Roy Williams is trying to accomplish without any shooting guards, but it's not working. There are times when there would be 3 point guards on the court and 2 forwards, or 1 point guard on the court with 4 forwards. Now, Justin Jackson may be considered a shooting guard, but he wasn't really a consistent shooter until the end of the season, and that was only in a few games. They really need that do not leave him open threat from 3, and the only one they have right now is Marcus Page, and he's supposed to be a point guard. So if we needed a big shot, everybody knew it was going to Page. It's just – something just did not gel with this UNC team, and maybe next year it will be different. maybe some new recruits coming in. I don't know. I just don't know with this UNC team. They really need a shooting guard, and they don't have it right now, and I think that's really hurting them. But Wisconsin was the better team. They deserve to move on, but I'm still picking Arizona over them in the next round. I just I don't like the way Wisconsin plays, and Arizona, I think, can guard Kaminsky pretty well, and I think that they'll, after watching the last game, know to guard Sam Decker too. Um, Now, Arizona got past Xavier, a really good team, or at least a tough team to play. I wouldn't say Xavier's a good team. They were number 6, but they had some tough players, some tough people to guard, especially their center. And now I think Arizona is probably still the favorite to beat Kentucky if they meet in the Final Four. Now, Notre Dame going to Kentucky's region. Notre Dame beat Wichita State in a game that was kind of going back and forth, but the whole time you could kind of see that Notre Dame was the better team. It just took a late second half run to kind of separate and distance themselves from Wichita State. Notre Dame can shoot the ball. I mean, they can really shoot it. You can't leave anybody open on that team. They're playing really well, playing really good basketball. They might have a chance to beat Kentucky, but nobody's going to beat Kentucky. Now, the game that everybody was talking about on Thursday was when Kentucky just dismantled and took apart West Virginia. And this is my honest opinion. Every game Kentucky plays, starting with the West Virginia game and from Notre Dame to the Final Four to the championship game, all people are going to do is talk about how the other team has a chance to beat Kentucky. They're going to talk about it so much until they actually start to believe that it is possible. All I heard this week was that West Virginia was scrappy. They were going to turn Kentucky over. They were deep. They weren't going to back down. They were going to foul them. And then Kentucky just took the court and it was game over. I mean, 78-39, they doubled up West Virginia, the team that was going to give Kentucky fits, and it just wasn't even close. And I think that's going to keep happening. Now it's Notre Dame, and everybody's going to be like, oh, Notre Dame's floor space and their three-point shooting, their dribble drive. It's going to give Kentucky trouble. But is it really going to give Kentucky trouble? Kentucky's held every good team they face to low shooting percentages, 20 to 30%, or even lower, with the exception of UNC, of course. Notre Dame's not going to be any different. Kentucky is too big. They're too long. They're too athletic. They can guard the three-point line. They can guard inside. I mean, Notre Dame's going to try to shoot a lot of threes, but they're not going to be that open. And they're not going. They might make contested three-pointers, and that might be the difference. But Kentucky is Kentucky. Stop thinking that somebody is going to beat Kentucky just because it's the next team that Kentucky has to face. Now, Friday's recap. I didn't get to see much of these games. I was out of town and didn't get in till about 11 o'clock last night. And at that point, I watched a little bit of the Duke and Utah game and flipped over to the the Michigan State Oklahoma game, but mostly the Duke and Utah game in the second half. That's all I really got to see. Gonzaga handled UCLA, from what I could tell, to reach the Elite Eight for the first time since 1999. I keep wanting to pick against the Zags. I keep wanting to find somebody to beat them. I hate when we try to make a case for Gonzaga when they haven't really played. They play in a weak conference, and they haven't really played many people. They're a really good team, but I hate when people are like, oh, they're the best team until they go out and prove it. Now they're playing Duke. If they can beat Duke, they can hang with anybody. And now that they're playing Duke, of course, I've got to cheer for them instead of pull against them. So go Zags. Now Duke had a surprisingly close game with Utah. I thought Duke would have won this game pretty easily, but Utah gave Duke some fits. They held Okafor to just 6 points, but Justice Winslow stepped up and scored the 21 that put Duke over the top. Tyrus Jones had 15, I believe. Duke is not a very deep team. They used 3 players and didn't get a whole lot of minutes out of 2 of them, but except for Jefferson. They're not a deep team. If you can get Duke in foul trouble, that could be problematic. If you can guard Okafor and hold him to a few points and still be able to guard the 3-point line consistently, you're going to be able to beat Duke. So we'll see about Gonzaga and Duke. I'm going to talk about this game a little bit more in a minute. Tom Izzo continued his winning ways against Oklahoma. That was the other late game last night. I was really pulling for the Sooners here. I don't like Michigan State a whole lot. I'm not really sure what it is. Maybe it's because they're always good. Maybe it's because they always make it to the Elite Eight or the Final Four. I don't know what it is. I just like cheering against the Spartans. Maybe it goes back to the 2009 national championship game when UNC beat them so handily and then played them, I think, the next year in the ACC Big Ten tournament and then beat them again. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the Spartans. Maybe it goes back to when they beat Kentucky way back when Kentucky had Patrick Sparks in the was that in the Elite Eight or was that in the Sweet 16? I'll have to go back and look about that one. But maybe it goes back to that game. Then finally, it was Louisville and NC State. Now, it seemed like everybody wanted to kind of jump on the NC State bandwagon after they beat Villanova. After they saw how easy this East region could be with Virginia losing, with Virginia not playing that great, with Michigan State not that great, with Oklahoma not that great, with Louisville not that great. I mean, I think everybody was like, "Ooh, look at this NC State team could be the team that makes a run to the Final Four." But NC State does what NC State always does and shows that you can't ever trust them to do what you expect them to do or want them to go above and beyond. They're going to beat some teams and upset some teams like Duke, North Carolina, Villanova, but then they're going to lose to some teams that they have no business losing to. You just can't trust them to win a game when you want them to or when you need them to. And that's I didn't think NC State was going to get past Louisville. And even if they did, I really didn't think they were going to get past Oklahoma or Michigan State. So NC State's out, UNC's out, Duke's still in. That's the only North Carolina team still showing, and it's not the team that I want to be pulling for. So now we've gotten to the Elite Eight. We've got to our final 8 teams. We've got 4 games in the next round to make it to the Final Four. And I'm going to go through my picks real quick. Of course, I'm picking Kentucky over Notre Dame. I think this is a no-brainer here. Kentucky, everybody had Kentucky to win the national championship. Basically, those who didn't pick Kentucky were just those who wanted to win a bracket pool and needed to pick somebody else, or they were a fan of Wisconsin or Duke or Arizona and wanted to cheer for their team. Or maybe they just hate Kentucky and they wanted to pull against Kentucky. But anybody with no real staking interest in this was going to pick Kentucky to win the national championship. So they're going to continue. They're going to beat Notre Dame. Yes, Notre Dame's look good. Yes, they can shoot some threes when they're left open, but Kentucky's just too big. They're too hard to guard down low. They protect the rim very well. It's just Kentucky's going to win, and it's probably going to be easy. Arizona is going to beat Wisconsin. I think that Arizona is the second best team in the nation. I know that they're a number 2 seed, but I think that was a little bit harsh. I thought they should have been the 1 seed over Villanova. Not sure why the committee went with Villanova. I guess they had one fewer loss than Arizona, and maybe that's why. But conference-wise, everybody wanted to say that the Big East was better than they were getting credit for, but I don't think they really were. So I don't know. I just thought Arizona was better than Villanova and should have gotten that 1 spot. But the way that the teams match up, Arizona and Wisconsin, I think that Arizona can guard Kaminsky. I think that they'll guard Decker. I think that they'll do what they need to do to win the game. Over on the other side of the bracket, I've got Michigan State over Louisville just because Izzo does it again. Now this is a coaching matchup. Maybe the last time we'll ever see it. I hope not, but maybe Izzo and Pitino. It's two of the greatest coaches right now, and I think Izzo does it again and finds a way to beat Louisville. Although Louisville's got Harrell down low, he's a monster. They've got Rozier outside, and if those two guys can score, 20 points, 25 points apiece, and can hold Michigan State to poor shooting like Louisville typically does to teams, Louisville could easily win this. I'm just picking Michigan State because Izzo does it again somehow. And then in the last game, I'm going to take Gonzaga over Duke. I think that the Zags can guard the perimeter. They can guard Okafor in the middle without needing to double too much. And I think that's key. If you can guard Okafor one-on-one without doubling and stay on the shooters, I don't think Duke is that dangerous. It's just that no teams can really guard Okafor one-on-one. The teams that have tried have been pretty successful, or at least held close. I wouldn't say successful. Very few teams have beaten Duke, but the teams that have tried have played Duke very well. They've just, been outplayed because everybody else on Duke's a little bit better than everybody else on the team they've been playing. But I think the Zags can guard the perimeter. I think that they can guard Okafor without needing to double too much. I think they can score enough. I don't think Duke's defense is good enough. I'm going to pick the Zags here over Duke. Maybe that's just wishful thinking. I do think Okafor and Tyrus Jones are fantastic players. But, yeah, I'm just picking with my heart here. Let's go. Gonzaga over Duke. Let's go. So my Final Four right now is Kentucky versus Arizona and Michigan State versus Gonzaga. If I had to go ahead and predict for next weekend, I'd have Kentucky over Arizona, and I'd have Gonzaga over Michigan State to put Kentucky and Gonzaga in the final. And then, of course, I have Kentucky winning the national championship still. But let me know what you think. Down now that we're down to the Elite Eight, there's not a whole lot different options that you can pick. But let me know if you think Notre Dame can beat Kentucky, or if you think that Wisconsin's going to beat Arizona, because those are the two that I'm really locked in, Kentucky and Arizona. Let me know. And thanks for watching, guys. This has been the Free Culture Sports Show. Hope to see you guys later. Bye.